Yep. Right, ladies and gentlemen, give them a big hand. We got the Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final, individual final. The bagpipes will come on. Give me a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, give them a big hand as they come onto the stage. Go with it. From New Zealand, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Dobbs. To stand number 5 from New Zealand, Brian Thompson. To stand number 4 from South Africa, the current world champion, defending his title, Swahili Wheelie Fasten. To stand number 3 from England, ladies and gentlemen, George Bird. To stand number 2, ladies and gentlemen, the Welshman, Elvin Jackson. To stand number 1 from South Africa, Mayan Zeki Shwede. Judges onto the board, judges onto the board.
Oh, what a lineup. The best blade shearers in the world. One of them is going to be crowned champion. Is it going to be the current man's Walawili Hands? Is it going to be his teammate, Myanziki Shwini? Is it going to be one of the Kiwis or England or Wales?
How does George Mudge get that shirt so white, ladies and gentlemen?
He washes it.
With Daz. George the Dazzler Mudge, we're gonna call him, ladies and gentlemen.
Wife washes it.
She put it on too hot of a wash, George. It's a bit tight.
Referee to stand 6, please. Referee.
George, I tell your wife, he's missed a bit in the middle. There's some black on the back. It's a bit dirty.
Where's their referee?
Ooh. Unlike that Cymru, it's as white can be.
And the Welsh dragon on the back of Alfred Jackson's shirt. I'm not sure about that either, Steve. Hugh Condron's got a Welsh.
Isaac Klopper, the South African manager, please. We need you up on stage. Well done, here he comes.
Can we have the referee, please, to stand 6? As I was saying, Hughie Condron's got the Welsh jacket, the Welsh dragon on his vest, Steve. But he's all got all the really big dragons on the front of his vest and the little ones on the back. Why is that? Alfred's got the big dragon on the back and the little one on the front. Oh, I see.
He bought that waistcoat over the phone.
And they trucked it in. He bought it at the curved fronted vest shop.
He has put on a little bit of weight.
He
used to be 7 pounds 6 ounces. He thought it was water retention. It's lager and curry retention. God, Mayan Zeki's swearing he's changed. He's put a high-vis jacket on.
I've changed your... Norm Haraway, I've changed your flight details. You're flying home Air Malaysia.
Yeah, right.
Oh, fucking hell. So we'll see you again.
Oh, the same flight that you're coming out to New Zealand at the next World Champs then?
You want that translator down here to help Guy?
Was that an invite?
We'll see how you behave. We're not finished yet. Seven sheep these boys will be shearing. Pen, guys, someone in the pen. How many sheep have we got in there? Are you sure?
7. 7. It's a world final, very important that we have fairness across the board. Tom Dunn. Done Tom? Tom Dunn. Tom Dunn what? Tom Dunn nothing. George Graham, if you like. George, if you're about, we'd like to have you on this commentary. So George, just get your itinerary and try and work around, because we'd love you to have you on this commentary team for at least one final, please, George.
I was going to say I didn't want to on the mic. When? I was going to say...
Yeah.
He said he used to be 7 pounds 6 inches. I was going to say now he's 170 pounds 6 inches.
Okay, where's our referee, Tom? He's still up there on the stage. We are waiting for a start. This is the individual World Blade Shearing Final. We've had our teams event. We'll find the world's best teams. We want the world's best individual shearers to crown.
Give him a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. George Graham is going to join the commentary point. Don't take note of them.
Ready, boys.
Tom, green light, let's kick these boys into gear. Timekeepers ready. Competitors set, go. And away we go, the first of 7 out on the board right now. We're going to find the world's best blade shearer for 2014 out of these 6 men. Into the first hind leg they go. The current champion, Zwella Willie Hands. Right into the back leg. Brian Thompson from New Zealand behind him. Tony Dobbs under the undermine already. He's going to step up the neck very shortly. Is he going to be the first one there? Just George Mudd from England right there with him, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Thompson up the neck he goes, but it's only the start. They've got a long way to go yet. Shear the wool off 7 sheep with a pair of scissors. Not that easy to do, Georgie.
Certainly not that easy to do, but this is a wonderful lineup here for the Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final. And away to go. You have the Welshman there, Alfred Jackson, stand number 2, with George Mudge right there with him. And on stand number 4, up and around the back of the head he goes, as Willie in hands, drops down to that first shoulder. Brian Thompson, New Zealander, on stand number 5. And on stand number 6, we've Tony Dodds. What a team, what a lineup here. This is wonderful to see. The Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final, sponsored by Conran and Dooley Wolves. Mike Sweeney there on stand number 1. He's right down there as well. Who's going to get the drop first? And in for sheep number 2, Tony Dodds, going very well, the New Zealander. He's first to get the turn down there on stand number 6. He turns her home down the money side of the sheep. Down the last side he comes. And it's on stand number 1 that he's right there with him as well. So it stands 1 and 6 at the moment. They battle it out. Who's going to get that trap first? And the South African, he looks to be a little bit ahead at the moment. He might have a slightly smaller sheep, and down he comes. Steps back over, pops up that head, and away he goes now. Tony Dodd's chasing hard. As Willie in hands, he's turned as well. George Mudd is right there. Brian Thompson and Alfred Jackson, the Welshman. Anybody here from Wales? That's it. And Max Sweeney it is. It looks like it's going to be the South African. Tony Dodd's right there with him as well. Not a lot between any of the competitors here. The first of their 7 sheep in the Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final. What a spectacle. It's New Zealand, South Africa it is. And away to go.
And down he goes, and in for sheep number 2, Mayanzeki Shaweni from South Africa. Tony Dobson, he's just putting the finishing touches. Down the portal she goes. In goes the big lanky man from New Zealand on stand 6. And who's going to be the next one? It's pretty close between the rest of them. Is it Brian Thompson or is it Willie Hans? Elvid Jackson there. It's Willie Hans from South Africa. In goes the current world champion, out with sheep number 2. Brian Thompson looks the next furthest on, just a flick around the tail. He's a quality shearer, the man on stand number 5. Down the portal she goes, in and out with number 2. Come on, Elvid, stick to it. He's going well, the Welshman on stand number 2. It's down the portal, in she goes. Georgie Mudge then, just finishing off number 1. Keep that blades going, George. He's doing a beautiful job. He looks as white as his singlet, that sheep does, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir, away to go now. Who is George Mudgett is. Down to the flank he goes, out that back leg, and he'll soon make to drop it in for sheep number 2. Brian Thompson up the neck. It's Tony Dodds on 6. He's down into that first shoulder, but it's the South African there on stand number 1. Out comes George Mudge now, the Englishman. Sheep number 2 on the board. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman. He's into that first hind leg. And it's South Africa there on stand number 4. In this, the Click Navarre, the sponsored Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final. Tony Dodds right there. Tony Dodds has picked it up, the New Zealander. Come on, is there anyone here from New Zealand? Yes, come on, cheer him on, give him a bit of support. This is a big final. A long way to go, 5 more sheep to go there. But it's Tony Dodds who's got the turn first this time, and away he comes down the last side of sheep number 2.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I can't hear MD shouting up the back. Where is all you South Africans? Where is you Welsh boys? Where is the English shout on Georgie Mudge? Up here in stand number 3. Come on, South Africa. And you New Zealanders, I can't hear you shouting your boys on. But look at this man up. Manzi Sweeney up here in stand number 1. He's coming down the last side. But it's Tony Dodds. He's jumping on here. He's going to win for sheep number 3 just before long. But Brian Thompson's pushing hard that way. So it's Sweeney hands up here in stand number 4. The other man for South Africa, team member Alfred Jackson there in stand number 2. He's coming hard at him as well. But come on, George Mudge fan club, where are you all, ladies and gentlemen? Cheer on your team. In goes Tony Dodds there. Sheep number 3 out on the board for him. But this man up here in stand number 1 for South Africa, I can't hear you shout him on up here. He's coming down the last side. He's been the finishing touches there. It's going to be Brian Thompson, or is it going to be their team member? In goes stand number 1, in goes South Africa. Is it going to be Willie Hans in stand number 4 as he pops her down the porthole he goes? Brian Thompson's not far behind him there. He's pushing hard, George.
Yes, and away they go. It's Alfred Jackson now turns down the last side. He comes. George Mudge down into the long low. It's up the neck goes Tony Dodds there, the New Zealander on stand number 6. And Brian Thompson, New Zealander, he's out again on the board now, and away he goes. George Mudge turns her home. As William Hans, the South African on 4. He's just about to step up the neck in just a couple of seconds there on sheep number 3. And also on stand number 1, McSweeney, he's there as well. Up the neck and away he goes. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman, he's putting in the finishing touches there in 2. Come on, is there anyone here from Wales? Give him a bit of support and cheer him on. That's it, get behind him. It's the World Final, sponsored by Click Power and Novartis Animal Health. They're the big sponsors here. And it's Alfred Jackson, the Welshman. He comes out there now on stand number 2.
Number 2 it is, Alfred Jackson. That's the man we're looking at. He's going to chomp into the back leg. Wipe a bit of wool off there and up the undermine. He'll be way up the neck. George Mudge, he's not far away from getting number 3 out on the board. But Tony Dobbs, he turns for home on sheep number 3. Ooh, mine Zeki Shinny, he's in the long blow. He's not far away from turning for home as well. Dobbs ran onto the last front shoulder. Mine Zeki Sweeney, he's not getting any further behind. Tony's trying to stretch a lead. Mine Zeki's trying to keep him in touch. But don't forget about that South African Shearer on stand number 4. He's a really good Shearer, that man.
Yeah, good. Sorry, George.
Yes, and away to go now, and it's Tony Dodds. He turns down the last side, he comes. But it's the two South Africans on stand 1 and 4. They're coming back as well. Out comes George Mudge on 3. Brian Thompson, New Zealander. He's right down there in the long blow. Who's going to get the drop first? It's still between South Africa and New Zealand. And as Willie in hands, he's coming back at him with every blow now as well. Tony Dodds, out the back leg he goes. Sweeney on stand 1. He goes out there as well. Very little between them. But as Willie in hands, he's coming back at him all the time. Very close. Stands 1, 4 and 6 at the moment. And Brian Thompson coming right back as well. Who's going to get the drop first? And in for sheep number 4 is Tony Dodds, the New Zealander. Out he comes. Come on, get behind him, you New Zealanders. Cheer him on. It's the world final.
Yeah, my Zeki Sweeney there. He's doing a lovely job there on 1 down the portal. She goes. Come on, get behind that South Africa boy. He goes in for sheep number 4. He's having a cracking shear up there, ladies and gentlemen. Alfred Jackson, come on, everybody supporting the Welsh boy up here. He turns down the last side. He's doing a cracking job up there on stand number 2. Done well to make that big open final. And it's the young man up there, the man that was 21 last Friday. That's George Mudge, ladies and gentlemen, on stand number 3, the English boy. And the wheelie fast hands, as Steve says, the wheelie fast hands from South Africa. He's having a cracking cheer up there on stand number 4. Brian Thompson, the boy just leading the field there on stand number 5 down there. Down the porthole she goes. He goes in for sheep number 4. What about Tony Dobbs? Down the last side of the way he goes there. He's having a cracking cheer on stand number 6, George.
Yes, and away to go. And it's Willie in hands there now. He's up the neck, but it's still Tony Dodds, the New Zealander. He drops down to that first shoulder. Brian Thompson out there as well. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman. The finishing touches goes into sheep number 3. He'll soon be in for 4. And Sweeney there on 1. He's down into the first shoulder. George Mudge turns her home. But it's Tony Dodds still leads the field there on stand number 6. In this the Click 4 on sponsored Golden Shears final. Blade Shearing final. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman. Out the back like he goes. As Willie in hands. He's right there as well. And Brian Thompson. But next man to drop there will be on stand number 2. Alfred Jackson putting in the finishing touches there now. And he'll soon be in for sheep number 4. Getting the turn on stand number 6 is Tony Dodds, the New Zealander. Alfred Jackson. He comes out with sheep number 4 on stand number 2. As Willie in hands gets the turn as well. So it's very close. Stands 1, 4 and 6 at the moment. Very little between them. Who's going to get the drop first? And in for sheep number 5. This is the Golden Shears World Blade Shearing final. Come on, get behind your favourite shearer there and give him a bit of support. Cheer him on. It's a world final. Who's going to get the drop first? It's as Willie in hands. He turns her home. Sweeney is turning for home as well on stand number 1. And Tony Dodds on 6. Very little between them. It's that big man on stand number 4 now. Out he comes Tony Dodds right there with him, and so is Sweeney. Who's going to get the drop? Very little in it. Down they come. Who's going to get in for sheep number 5? Come on, give them a bit of a cheer on. They'll go faster and faster. That's it. Very little between the stands 1. Yes, it is stand number 4. This time the South African is Willie in hands. He comes out with sheep number 5 on the board. Tony Dodds putting in the finishes. And South Africa again on stand number 1. He's out with his 5th sheep as well. Brian Thompson turns her home. Tony Dodds, he's in for 5 as well. George Mudge into the first hind leg there on stand number 2. Alfred Jackson on sheep number 4. But it's as Willie in hands now. There he's taking up the lead there at the moment, closely followed by his teammate on stand number 1.
Aye, so Willie hands, he's the world champion, and you can see why. He said, if you want my crown, you're gonna have to go harder than that to take it away from me. As up the neck he goes. First man to stick up the neck, and Tony Dodds said, well, if you're up for the fight, mate, I'm gonna give it to you. As he comes up the neck and around the ear, up goes Mayan Zeki Shawini. He's up the neck as well. They're having a brilliant battle there, those 3 shearers on 1, 4 and 6. Alfred Jackson and George Mudge, they're coming around the first shoulder, but Brian Thompson's in for another one. He's from half a sheep behind, working hard, but Brian's a very quality shearer there on stand number 5. Dropping down into the long blows then. It's Tony Dobbs, Willie hands. He's right there, but Mayan Zeki Shawini, he's a quality competitor on stand number 1. He had the cleanest pen points yesterday in the final in the Open All Nations. So we know what he's doing. Look at that left hand working. He's sweeping that wool, so he's not pulling the skin out. Die.
Yes, and away to go now, but it's still as well in hands on stand number 4. He turns her home, closely followed by Tony Dodds, the New Zealander, and Mackenzie Sweeney on stand number 1. He turns as well, so still the real battles on stands 1, 4, and 6. And away to go, Brian Thompson not too far there, off the mark on stand number 5. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman, he turns down to the shoulder, he comes and down the last side. George Mudge turns her home as well, but it's still as well in hands. Down he comes. Down the last side, closely followed by Tony Dodds. Brian Thompson down into that first shoulder, and Mackenzie Sweeney on stand 1. He's down there as well, but it's going to be stand number 4. Very little between South Africa and New Zealand at the moment. Stands 4 and 6. Who's going to get the drop first this time? Come on, cheer him in. They'll soon be in for 6 sheep, and this is really in hands to South African. Out he comes with his second last sheep, with 1 more left in the pen. Tony Dodds, he comes right back at him now as well, and Mackenzie Sweeney on stand number 1. The South African Alfred Jackson, who's going to be next, and it's Tony Dodds, the New Zealander. He goes in now for sheep number 6 on the board. Out comes McSweeney on stand number 1. He comes out with his 6 sheep as well on the board. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman. Come on, is there anybody here from Wales? He's coming right back at him as well. And away to go.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, shout these boys on. This man in stand number 4, he is the current world champion at the moment. He said, if you boys are want to take this off me, you'll have to try and catch me. I'm already up the neck. I'm coming round the front shoulder. In goes Jordy Mudge up there in stand number 3. Mazin Sweeney up there, the other man from South Africa. He's jumping along. He's up under mine as well. But Tony Dodds from New Zealand, come on, all you Kiwis. Shout Tony on up there and stand number 6, round the back of the head. He says, I'm coming to get you, sweetly hands. You're going down the long blows. I'm just right there with you. Another couple of blows, and Brian Thompson, he'll be in for sheep number 6 as well. These boys are shearing 7 sheep, ladies and gentlemen, and we're at just over the 13-minute mark. But look at this man up here in stand number 1. He's getting quicker and quicker as well. He's going to catch up in the Kiwi. In goes Brian Thompson, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, where's all you Englishmen and Welshmen? Shout on Alfred Jackson there in stand number 2. Come on, let's hear it for George Mudge. George.
Yes, and away to go now. And it's Alfred Jackson down into the long blow. He's coming back along all the time, but on stand number 4, the South African has turned. He's making his way home down the last side of sheep number 6 with 1 more left in the pen, and away to go. Down into the long blow is Tony Dodds, the New Zealander. Mackenzie Sweeney on stand number 1. He'll soon turn as well. And Alfred Jackson, he's right there as well. George Mudge down into the first shoulder. Brian Thompson, he steps through. And away he goes on stand number 5. Tony Dodds, he turns her home, but it's going to be as well in hands on stand number 4. He'll be first to drop and in for his 7th and final sheep to come out on the board for the South African. Come on, cheer him on and give him a bit of support. It's the world final. The Click and Novartis Forum sponsored final here, the Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Championships. Tony Dodds turns on stand number 6. Down the last side he comes. Mackenzie Sweeney on 1. He comes down the last side as well. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman, he's on stand number 2. George Mudge down into the long low. Brian Thompson, he's down to that first shoulder. Tony Dodds, he puts in the finishing touches there on stand number 6. He'll be soon in for his 7th and final sheep. Shearing on stand number 6. George Mudge down into the long low. And it's Alfred Jackson putting in the finishing touches there. He'll be in for 6 shortly. The Welshman, he comes out with number 6. And it's the South African Mackenzie Sweeney. He's out with his 7th and final sheep as well. It's all on here, the Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final.
Oh, it's all on right, George. There's no doubt about that as Tony Dobbs from New Zealand hops into the pen for 7th and final sheep. Zwella Willie Hands, stand number 4 though. Round into the first front shoulder. He is the current champion. Is he going to remain so? Time will tell. Way through into the long blow. He drops. He's going to lay the sheep down very shortly. Mayanzeki Sweeney, Tony Dobbs wind their way up the undermine. Lays it down off on the long blows. Wella Willie Hands on stand 4. Slides a couple of big shots up either side of the backbone. Where's the rest of the field? Thompson, stand number 5. Down the last side he comes, the wee fella. Very, very clean. This man, his quality gets him through, so don't leave that man out. Don't leave George Mudge out either. He's a shearing legend from England. Alfred Jackson from Wales. He's made a name for himself as well. Very handy on the blades, no doubt about that. But here we go down the last sides. Wella Willie Hands, the South African sheep number 7 on the board for him. This is his final sheep. and he's almost finished, won't be long. 16 minutes and 4 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Not bad with a pair of scissors right out of the back leg. Another couple of shots. He'll be starting to look for that red button. Schwenny way through the long blow. In goes Thompson for sheep number 7. Tony Dobbs, long blow time, but and Zeki shifts. Allswell Willie hands, red button time. Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen, the South African first man off.
Yes, and away to go now. Tony Dodds, he turns her home as well, and it's a South African on stand number 1. Mackenzie Sweeney, he's down to the shoulder, so very close between South Africa and New Zealand on stands 1 and 6. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman, one more left in the pen. George Mudge, just a little touch up to his blades there, and he'll soon be in for sheep number 6. And away to go, Brian Thompson, stand number 5, the New Zealander. But it's a real battle now on stands 1 and 6 with South Africa and New Zealand down the last side to come. Who's going to get that drop first? Is it going to be Mackenzie Sweeney or Tony Dodds, the New Zealander? Down to come and down the last side. Mackenzie Sweeney, it is out the back leg he goes, being pushed all the way by Tony Dodds in New Zealand. Come on, give him one big cheer on. Who's going to get there first? Very little in it. Is it going to be Mackenzie Sweeney or Tony Dodds? And it's the South African Mackenzie Sweeney on stand number 1. The New Zealander Tony Dodds out the back leg he goes now. George Mudd steps through up the neck. Alfred Jackson and Brian Thompson, but it's going to be Tony Dodds on stand number 6. He'll be next to finish. Out comes Alfred Jackson, and it's Tony Dodds with his final sheep and down the porthole. The Welshman has his 7th and final sheep on the board.
Yeah, Brian Thompson there, the other New Zealand boy. He's having a fantastic shear up there, ladies and gentlemen. Just because you're first finished there does not mean by any means that you've got this World Blade Shearing one. Those sheep have to be judged on the boards and judged out the back for a nice even job, and just for any little skin cuts that may be on them. But it's George Mudge, ladies and gentlemen, the boy from England. Come on, cheer him on up there, ladies and gentlemen. It's not easy up there as he cleans off that first shoulder. Drops down into the long blow. Alfred Jackson. Anybody here from Wales, ladies and gentlemen? Come on, let's rock the house for Alfred Jackson. Up around the back of the head, and the way he goes there. This boy is shearing out of his skin. He was delighted to make that final there. He was sitting behind me when he heard his name called out. He was delighted, ladies and gentlemen. And why wouldn't they? This is a marvelous occasion. We got Brian Thompson down the last side. He comes with a couple of flicks over the tail head. A New Zealand boy. These boys can shear with the machines, and these boys can also shear with the blades. Fantastic shearing going on up here at the World Champs here in Gorey. Fair play to George Graham and his committee. But it's Brian Thompson. Down the last side he comes. Couple of flicks over that tail head. Come on, cheer him down that portal. Ladies and gentlemen, George Mudge. Down the last side he comes, George. What do you think of those two that are left?
Yes, to a Welshman and Englishman, they battled out there on stands 2 and 3. Alfred Jackson with his final sheep on the board. Doing a quality job. George Mudge, a quality shearer from England. He's on stand number 3. He turns her home. He's 2 more sheep left in the pen. But remember, time or speed is not everything. The quality of the finish job out the back. The judges will be looking for a nice, even, level finish job. Alfred Jackson, he'll soon be turning. Turns her home now, down to the shoulder and down the last side of his 7th and final sheep in this, the Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final, sponsored by Click and Novartis. They're the big sponsors here of this World Blade Shearing Final. George Mudge, he powers down the last side there of sheep, and 2 more left in the pen for George. Out the back like he goes. Alfred Jackson, he's coming down the last side of his final sheep. George Mudge, the quality shearer from England. Out the back like he goes now, another couple of seconds, and he'll be in for sheep number 6. Alfred Jackson, he's powering down the last side as well. His final sheep. Come on, is there anybody here from Wales and England? Give him a bit of support there and cheer him on. It's George Mudge. He comes out now with 6 on the board. Come on, push Alfred Jackson on there, his final sheep. Just a little bit to go. The Welshman, he's almost finished now. His 7th and final sheep in the Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final. Alfred Jackson, the Welshman, he stuck to the task well there, doing a quality job. He'll very soon reach for that stop button. Alfred Jackson on stand number 2 in the final. Put your hands together for Alfred Jackson.
Yeah, well done, Alfred. Tremendous stuff. George Mudge then up the undermine of his final sheep. And tremendous shearing. I wouldn't worry about it, George. You've done exceptionally well to get in there, and you're a quality shearer. You'll have a good job, there's no doubt about that. Big, strong hog he's got. Come on, keep him on. Well done, Lloydie. Keep him going there. Around the first shoulder for George. Big, strong sheep. Around the first shoulder then, keeping that wool with his left hand, keeping it up so that it doesn't pull the skin out so much. heavy fleeces here there on these hoggets. So the left hand is working as much as the right hand to keep the wool, the weight off the skin as he goes around that first shoulder, then keeping that sheep nice and comfortable. He said you should have a bit of deodorant. It's not smelling very good here where my nose is, but there you go, and dropping it down into the long blows. She should sit a bit better now. Into the long blows then, George, having a tremendous shear. He's 67, you know, so he's giving him a bit of encouragement, ladies and gentlemen, because he's doing really well to be up there. Come on, George. You should have seen this man when he was young and fit. He made the world final with a machine back in 1984, and I tell you, it was a lean, mean shearing machine then.
Yes, 67, for 67 one, he's not just happy to be here, he's happy to be anywhere.
Yes, and away he goes now down the last side of his seventh and final sheep. Turns down to the shoulder, he comes and that's the last side. The experienced George Mudge. Now is the time to get behind him and give him a bit of a cheer on. This is hard work up there. The Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final. It's George Mudge. Down to the shoulder he comes and down the last side now. Doing an extreme quality job there on stand number 3 in this the Blade Shearing Final. Just pops up that head now, down to the flank he comes, down the last side. George Mudge, the man from England, the quality shearer, also a machine shearer, has represented his country in machine shearing as well. Come on, for the last couple of seconds, get behind him now and cheer him on. It's George Mudge from England. Come on, clamp and stop your feet. He'll go all the faster. It's hard work up there. Come on, shout for George, George, George. It's George Mudge, the Englishman, representing his country there with pride. Out the back leg he goes now into the Novartis-sponsored Golden Shears World Blade Shearing Final. One last big cheer for George Mudge. Out the back leg he goes now. The Englishman, the World Blade Shearing Final. And he's about to send her on her way down the porthole. George Mudge it is on stand number 3, putting in the finishing touches there. A quality shearer on stand number 3. Put your hands together for the World Blade Shearing Finalist. Well done.
I'm just going to introduce you to another one of our young commentators, Sean Dunn, ladies and gentlemen.
Timekeepers ready, judges ready, competitors go. Here's Ivan Scott in stand number 1. He goes in for sheep number 1. He opened up the belly. He's coming down the first hip. He's stepping in for the money side for the sheep. He's coming up, opening up the neck. Look at this man go. He short 744 lambs in 8 hours a day. Put your hands together for Ivan Scott, everybody.